Is Craig Ray. Man, I haven't seen you in a while. How are you?
It's been since last time.
You've been staying busy?
I have been.
How do we look hopefully coming out of the pandemic era? Because by the time we have people on, it's just things are kicking up. There's a lot of pent-up energy out there.
Well, there sure is. We've been very active and really moving forward into this year. We just went through a very successful college baseball season, and fans coming out, going to games on the weekends in our college towns, planning for open season for football. Festivals are back at 100%, and really the only area in tourism right now where it's very slow, and probably will be for a while, is more of like the trade shows and the corporate meetings. Really haven't come back yet, but they plan 6 months to a year out.
I was going to say that it takes them. That'll happen. It just takes a while.
Right. That's just taking a while.
We have a couple of new venues since that time too. As far as how's that played into it? We got one at in Flowood?
In Flowood. It just opened up recently, so they have come out of the gate, been very successful. But you're planning your meetings, again, 6 months to a year out. You're booking travel, but their golf course and the resort and spa is doing real well. It's $50 million plus resort, which is great for Mississippi to have close to the airport. I think it'll do real well. It already has been, and so we anticipate that to be one of our shining stars as we come out of the.
I can imagine the redo of the trademark too, Craig, is a tremendous impact in the state because it's a first class facility.
It is, and tying that to the Coliseum allows you to book even larger events, boat shows, car shows, and it expands your footprint with much more modern facilities and technologies. I think what it'll do well, it already is doing well.
I read an article, and it's been a while back, but I think it holds a lot of credence that what we're having as far as the crime wave and everything else going on in some of these major cities, it is affecting people when they make that final decision, do I want to move there, or is there a venue that has the same amenities but is safer? When you start talking about Las Vegas got a lot of problems. San Francisco, Chicago, the McCormick Center was one of the biggest when I was growing up. It's a massive facility there. So I think people with smaller venues that could do that are looking for those opportunities.
I think so too. I think the security of the traveler right now, it's not just they're feeling safer going to the airport, getting on the plane, which is a safe environment, but it's what are you getting yourself into on the other end? Where are you flying to? I want to go to Washington, D.C. Is it a safe place to go to? Where can I do when I get there? Same thing when you're booking trips to Los Angeles, Las Vegas. Right now, if I'm a meeting planner, I'm probably staying closer to home and knowing that our groups are going to be smaller coming out. And so that's definitely something that plays into it. And you talked about our numbers. Where are we right now in the pandemic? We're trying to avoid comparing to last year. We all know that it was just
a washout.
Just a washout. So we were looking at, in 2019, we were having yet another third year in a row record numbers for tourism across the board. So we're comparing where we are now compared to where we were then, and we are right on the mark for just a fabulous year. So those numbers, we feel it's easier to compare than to say everybody in the country was down last year. So if we were up now, it's not really a fair comparison.
Do you figure in the gas prices on this one as far as drive-ins?
Well, we know that it affects the travel, but it's not part of our, we track the price of gasoline, but it's not in our true numbers. We're looking at travelers, overnight restaurants, those indicators. But we know that the price of gasoline is truly affected. And Mississippi, nationally, year in and year out, has always been one of the top 5 cheapest states for gasoline.
I think in some of the data that I've seen, it hasn't hurt as much as people thought because they'll bite the bullet. It's better than flying, which they don't want to do, and they are pent up, so they want to take that vacation. So, okay, it may cost them $100, $200 more. They'll go on and bite the bullet on that. And then do we need a massive type facility on the Gulf Coast as far as a expo center?
I think the one that they have, the the Gulf Coast Convention Center right now is a beautiful facility. Yeah. I know there are a couple other projects.
We've been there. It is. I mean, that's pretty large.
Yeah, and so I think doing a better job marketing that product. But then you have several of the larger casinos that have excellent large meeting space. The Beau Rivage and the IP, and some of those have very not extremely large, but good enough for groups of meetings, 200, 300, 400 people. So
you and I were booking things several decades ago. We would say Las Vegas because it's got the uniqueness of casinos.
That's right.
Casinos are not that unique anymore.
No, they're not.
Now we have that on the coast, and we could add what they don't have is a beach with it.
That's right.
So our attractiveness is better now than it's ever been.
Absolutely, with all the amenities that come along with it, the golfing, the fishing, the biking, the boating, the shopping, and family entertainment. There's so much more to offer for group travel and for individual travel. We're seeing right now, Paul, coming through this time frame, just a whole lot of in-state travel. People still wanting to travel, wanting to get out, and they're staying in-state, and they're moving around the state. And now you're starting to feel some regional comfort to travel, maybe not as much New Orleans yet, but Dallas and Florida. So it's starting to get back to where it was. But our numbers, as I mentioned, we're looking away from 2020, but we follow hotel rooms and restaurants are two big indicators.
Absolutely.
And, of course, the gaming revenues is and their travelers is a good 50% of all of our numbers. So when we see our gaming revenues that are shared by Larry Gregory and team, when they come on board and they're at record numbers, even though their hotel occupancy is down, it means the people that are going are spending more money that are there and enjoying, and they're just now getting back to full capacity with and working into group travel and entertainment while they're there. So
it was a little surprising too that it's taken an upturn in Robinsonville in the Tunica area.
Yes, yeah.
Because normally we just got bad news out of there, but it's been good recently.
Sportsbook is really helping there. They have a couple of really just first class facilities, and Gold Strike is maybe second to the Beau Rivage on the coast, the best sports book in the state. It's Las Vegas style, and it does real well. It's been an anchor through these tough times. But the market, I think, up there is starting to settle a bit between Memphis and Arkansas. People finding where they're comfortable to go to, where they don't have to drive as much, and it is doing well.
Does the bridge help us out up there? Or the problems on 40?
I think so.
Yeah.
But
so if you guys want to just not fix it for a while, leave it alone.
I'll leave it to those guys up to our highway department.
I want to talk about the Blues. I want to talk about there are entrepreneurs out there that are taking advantage of talking to some of these folks in other countries or other states and saying, hey, we'd like to put a package together for you from the Delta to the Gulf Coast and what's happening with that and maybe some of the markers. And we'll get to all of that with Craig Ray. Coming up, he's director Visit Mississippi. We're talking tourism, and let me backtrack a little bit because we talked about travel. There's still a travel ban, isn't it? As far as the international, they can't come here.
Right.
How many people are we losing from that?
Well, if we go back again to 2020, which was 2019, which was a record year for us for our international travelers too. We had a record 185,000 travelers, and they spent $185 million here in Mississippi.
Wow.
And so right now, basically getting zero international travelers. We hope that the administration and U.S. travel are all working to get this travel ban dropped when it's safe. And we're looking at, in all reality, probably September, where we feel like our number one markets, which is Europe, UK, Germany, France, Italy, Scandinavia, that they will start coming, and then the Australia, New Zealand's, and others later. But right now, they can't even travel outside of Europe, so we're not missing the boat there. But we feel like it will open up this fall, and it should recover quickly.
I think most people in this audience is a lot like me. We are certainly native-born Mississippians. We love the state. We want our story told. We know, in being in this marketing business for so long, it's been one of the hampers here. We could have somebody, Bill Maher, crack a bad joke, and it's a negative for the state of Mississippi. Then it would cost us literally millions upon millions of dollars to counteract that. We just don't have that kind of budget. That said, since about 3 years ago, the budget's a little bit better, is it not?
It is. We have a dedicated fund that has been accumulating during this time, which feeds off the restaurant and hotel receipts each month. And so as we're able to use that as an advertising fund, and it basically accumulated during the COVID year, we're in a position to really come out and play offense. You just talked about Mississippi playing defense so often, but we're going to be coming out this fall with a new campaign and be able to reach new markets that we haven't been able to, reaching out to Dallas, reaching over to Atlanta, Nashville, St. Louis, Chicago, target areas for marketing. So we're looking forward to this fall with a new campaign and really getting out there, not only to do the 30,000 feet advertising, but also to support our state and all of our CVBs and DMOs through this advertising.
Really
yes, sir.
I'm holding up a copy of Rolling Stone magazine, which has a pretty good circulation worldwide.
It sure does.
And this is an ad in here, and I just tweeted it out at Paul Gallo Show, which you can see it here is a long shot of it, but it's a birthplate of America's music. Its legends are born here. It's a soul singer. I love that picture there. The artist did a great job on that one.
Without saying which person, so we have to pay for the rights. You have Bo Diddley's hat, you have BB's guitar, you have the microphone and the piano, which is Jerry Lee Lewis, and then you see some of the other artists. So we were able to use the caricatures, and this helps us.
It can be an Elvis mic there too if you want.
That's right. That's right. So our advertising, music tourism, culinary tourism are so popular, so important in Mississippi, and we had the opportunity to advertise in Rolling Stone magazine, one of the #1 music tourism, music history magazines, and we'll be back in it again this fall. So we're excited about that issue.
What we just need to tell people, and I think this audience understands this, tourism it's a great cash cow. I mean, it produces so much in multiple ways, not only for revenue, but good PR for the state to go back and let people know who we are. And most people who come here for the first time are going to return home with a totally different view of Mississippi.
Absolutely. We feel like we have an opportunity to not just tell our message, but scream it out with a huge microphone and megaphone that we haven't been able to before. And you'll have some people that will have their opportunities where we'll have to play some defense on. Everybody's not happy as they travel through the state, might have an instance at the Welcome Center or somewhere, but surely if we're batting 99%, that's a good number.
Well, I don't know any state that's batting 100%.
No, no.
So I wouldn't worry too much about that. You're all on social media, got to get some negative reviews, but by and large, people first of all they come down, they love the people, and now we have the lotto thing too, so we're kind of rounded out on that one.
You had asked me earlier about the Blues Trail, and I like to say during the pandemic, we use this time to, as I coined the phrase, we have the world's largest outdoor museum in our Blues Trail, our Country Music Trail, our Freedom Trail, our Civil Rights Trail, our Civil War Trail, all of our outdoor trail program. It's an outdoor museum, and all that we've invested over the years in this program have over 400 markers when you combine them all together. And just doing real well driving people from museum to museum and then going out and seeing these places. So the Civil Rights Museum driving people to the Freedom Trail markers, the Grammy Museum and the B.B. King Museum educating people on all of our music history, to include the Max over Meridian. So we have this driver of our museums and then the trail program to get people out into the community, and it's doing real well. We're looking forward to, again, our plans for new websites, new apps, new travel pieces that will further educate our new paradigm of travel coming out of pandemic. How are people going to travel again? How is this young crowd going to travel? How are we traveling? How do we at our ages, do we have different expectations of travel?
I was thinking about it when you go to some other states, whether it's Kansas, whether it's Nebraska, places like that. They've got their museums, but we do have scattered out strategically in the state, being a relatively small state, some first-class museums. And you and I were talking during the break. We had wished they had more money to use, but that being said, there are literally tens of thousands, in some cases hundreds of thousands of people who come through those museums.
Absolutely. You look just on a quick timeline, and if you go back 15 years, none of these museums existed.
Right. Yeah.
We're in this 15, 20-year new paradigm of travel where we have Civil Rights Museum, the History Museum, the B.B. King Museum, the Grammy Museum. B.B. King's always one of my favorites. I'm honored to serve on the Grammy Museum board. I think the Museum of Meridian is just a phenomenal experience. And let's put in the aquarium on the coast. I mean, that is a new indoor aquarium of history, and that's just a couple of our museums.
Well, and then we forget about the Sports Hall of Fame in Jackson. We forget about the Ag Museum,
the art museums,
the art museums. We forget about the planetarium. We forget about the Children's Museum, which was a first-class children's museum, and the Natural Science Museum,
and a new children's museum in Meridian as well. So
absolutely.
We have, and we're working on there is actually a museum association here in the state, and to help coordinate those assets and some traveling information to put that together to help out with, because you could just do a museum and culinary tour through the state and be here for weeks at a time.
Are there any entrepreneurs doing that? I mean, we talked about at one time booking folks if you want to come in and travel the state. We take you across the state, or is you just putting the material together? With social media now, with the internet, people usually put their own itinerary together.
Well, if you go to our website, visit Mississippi.org, we have itineraries, so you can go online and put those together. We work with our CVBs and our DMOs, destination marketing organizations, for them to provide itineraries in their town, their area. So we combine those through our website and link to theirs. So there is all kinds of information for itineraries. There are travel groups that put these packages together for you.
So you can go on and pre-book your tickets, get your tickets and everything else.
You sure can. And through the Delta, there are several groups that do Delta tour trips and museum visits and blues trail stops. So
if you want to get the yin and yang, stay at the Peabody and then go down to the Shack Inn.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Final segment.
Or Tallahatchie Flats in Greenwood.
Just make sure you know what you're getting.